Thanks for joining us today. My name's Brian Engelman, and this is the Agree to Disagree show. In the spirit of what America is supposed to be about, we're supposed to be able to have interesting conversations. We're supposed to be able to discuss every topic. In the spirit of keeping things friendly, pick a descriptor. You don't need to keep harping on things. It's probably not a good thing. So at some point when you reach an area that's a little complicated, a little convoluted, a little confrontational, you can just say, let's agree to disagree there. Let's move. I don't want to go down that path. I mean, my last episode was about a conversation with a libertarian friend of mine where I'm once again, what's that Bernie Sanders meme? I once again request tonight for my campaign. I once again come to you asking for your money. So I'm once again asking my libertarian friend to get off the sidelines and just pick one of the two highest vote getters. Libertarian, because I know it will not matter. It's like that's giving the Democrats a vote. Like, why not defeat the worst thing facing us? They call that triage. Yeah, maybe that's kind of what I'm getting at, is that I was promoting a triage political philosophy to my libertarian friend. You get a tourniquet on and twist because you're going to bleed out. Your arm, your leg, you get a severe wound. Triage it in the field, in the field of battle. If there's somebody that can survive, but they need urgent, immediate help now, you got to grab them first before you deal with the guy with the broken wrist. That's the urgent, time-sensitive thing. So it's like if the Democrats are destroying almost everything they touch, you take care of them, and then you go on to your second thing, and then your third thing, and your fourth thing. You ever go to Dave & Buster's? Or just play any video games in general? It's like you got the opponent coming at you closest, and there's 10 others. Was it like a Terminator 2 video game? It's a lot of... That game's been around for decades. But yeah, there could be 100 things on the screen. They're all firing at you, but there's a couple that are getting really close. You got to handle the close things first. And so, that's what I was promoting as a political philosophy. But, the whole point of Agree to Disagree is let's talk about everything, because that's our birthright. It's not granted to us from government. Thank God, because anything they think that they're in charge of, they think that they have the right to take away. They don't. It's endowed by our Creator. Endowed by our Creator. Sometimes sentences just spill out, not quite enunciating the syllables. But yeah, you agree to disagree. You should be able to have all the interesting conversations in the world. That's our birthright. God-given. And so on the Agree to Disagree show, we talk about all the things, the current events, breaking news, politics, this, that, and the other, and it's an interaction. So thank you for finding us. We've been doing this for 12, 13 years on the New American Media, because the old American media has failed you. Please subscribe to the New American Media and the Agree to Disagree show in all of the places. All of the places. We're in 20 now. Patreon, if you'd love to buy us a cup of coffee each month. We have different plans. Patreon.com, I believe, / the New American Media. And the Spotify podcast for the Agree to Disagree show. All the places. Follow us everywhere, please. Like the show, do the hearts and the thumbs up. But yeah, I mean, on today's show, we're going to get caught up. Our last show was on Thursday. And of course, what happened? I mean, a lot of stuff happened. I mean, we were like an hour away from the Tucker Carlson interview on Thursday. What's the takeaway from that? Was that a big nothing burger? We'll discuss the Super Bowl. Of course, we're going to talk about national anthems and the Jesus commercials. The disturbing Lakeland shooter. seem to have a trend going on, and that kind of backs right up against the sheriff's warning. Are we paying attention to what the sheriffs are telling us? I mean, are we truly prepared for whatever may happen in the next few months? I don't know. What's up, Kenneth B? He agrees, not to disagree, but he agrees to watch. Thank you, Kenneth. Thanks for being there. So we'll talk about the Tucker and Putin interview. Also, did he interview other people while he was there? We're going to talk about Biden's Hur Report. Yeah. Does this mark the end of his residency, perhaps? So what were McConnell and Romney up to with this Senate spending bill? We'll kind of break it down a little bit for you. What did they bake into it? Did they put some poison pills in there for Trump to deal with? And finally, we're going to talk about Tony Bobulinski and his whistleblowing. Is the whole Biden crime syndicate coming down? It's such a weird time to be alive. So we'll get through all those. I want to talk about this first. Let's talk about the Chiefs and the 49ers. The Super Bowl lived up to the hype, agree or disagree. And this show is being broadcast on the Unhappy Hour Sports Show channels, on YouTube, on Facebook, on X. So, as far as the game goes, I was not pulling for the Chiefs. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the same one team winning it all. The only time I'm ever in favor of a dynasty is if my team is in the middle of the dynasty. Otherwise, I want other players to get a chance. Other teams, other cities, other fan bases. So I was not pulling for the Kansas City Chiefs. I got a personal grudge against the Cleveland Browns and the helmet-to-helmet hit that kept the Browns from advancing to the AFC Championship game with Baker Mayfield and Nick Chubb and Hollywood Higgins a couple years ago. Should have been helmet-to-helmet. Instead, it was a touchback fumble through the end zone that the Chiefs got, and we ended up losing by less than 7. So that one play, I've had a problem with what it felt like referees rigging the game. As far as how that goes, because that is an ongoing saga. Some games are worse than others. From what I watched, it just felt like a football game to me. I didn't see many egregious, awful plays. The one awful play of the game, there were several. I mean, unfortunately, the 49ers defender suffered a severe Achilles injury trying to run on the field. It was slippery or something, and he blew his leg out. That was an awful play. Just such a silly fluke, stupid fluke. If you think back to 2000, I believe it was 2007, 2008, Ohio State played Florida Gators in the national championship. And I think Ted Ginn Jr. took back a kickoff, returned it for a touchdown. And then while celebrating the end zone, he jumped up and landed and hurt his leg. He was out for the rest of the game. And the Buckeyes just fell off a cliff, just lost all momentum. The worst play was when there was a Kansas City punt that bounced off of the leg of a 49er defender, and it completely turned the entirety of that game around. And if the what's his name, Jake Moody, the field goal kicker of the 49ers, if he would have knocked in that extra point, you can't just blame it on him. Maybe it was actually on the lineman that missed an assignment. But that special team's giving up that 1 point. I mean, that's the difference between a 3-point field goal by the Chiefs getting us into overtime versus a 3-point field goal will still be 1 point short. So they have to go in for a touchdown. And who knows what could have happened at that point. Maybe they would have turned the ball over and the 49ers would have won. I mean, I was rooting for Chase Young and Nick Bosa and Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy. I like some of these players, so I was rooting for them. So I mean, the game in its entirety, I think the game was actually all right. There have been worse Super Bowls that I've watched. I mean, went to overtime. I thought it was weird that Shanahan coached the 49ers. They won the toss and then they elected to receive. Now, that would have made sense strategically under the old format where it's sudden death, winner takes all. But in the new method, because the 49ers said, all right, well, we won, we'll take the ball. They marched all the way down the field, but then they stalled right inside the 10-yard line. They had to settle for 3. And it's like, okay, well, now the Chiefs know what they have to do. They know that they need at least a 3 to tie or a touchdown to win it. Had it been the other way around, the Chiefs would have got the ball first. And then they would have known, did they go in and get a touchdown? Did they only get a 3? Did they get stopped entirely? And then only a 3-pointer wins you the game? It's like the whole playbook kind of opens up with possibilities if you would have deferred, like kind of flipped that, but they didn't. I thought that was weird. It came out in the post game that some players were talking about the coaches, Shanahan, and the players didn't understand the rules of overtime. Well, I mean, look, I'll be honest. Same here. It came on the screen. I'm like, all right, how's this work again? Because every sporting league, you keep tweaking the rules. I'm telling you, there is a benefit to being conservative. I don't consider myself to be a conservative, but I have a lot of conservative opinions and viewpoints. It's just kind of like, we're cruising. We got some inertia here. There's no need. You don't just need a change for change's sake. On my previous homeowners association board, we would have different members come in and, we need a new vendor. We need this. We need a new idea. It's like, you literally just showed up. You don't know what you need. You don't know what used to be here. You don't know if this is the best damn vendor, the best damn service we've ever had for this complex of 25 buildings, 216 units. But they just needed to put their stamp on it. It's like that general manager syndrome. And I'll say Andrew Berry had it. He came into the Browns. He wasn't responsible for Baker Mayfield. It's like you don't have any affinity toward wanting that to work. I, as a diehard Baker Mayfield supporter, I've been pulling for him this whole time and was vindicated because he won, Pro Bowl MVP, took his team to the playoffs, went to the second round of the playoffs. He's a good quarterback, top 12. You could win with him. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying he's Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes or Otto Graham, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Otto Graham. But the game was a good game. The overtime rules change because they always change. But the referee, the announcer, all right, fellas, heads, called in the air, heads and tails. Here are the rules of the game. Like they reset that all for you. So whatever, you're just playing. It was weird to see a ticking clock though, and it's like, oh, you better call timeout. They're going to run out of time. And I think Tony Romo was even told. I think it was Romo on the call. So you better explain this to people. Like, well, and it was like as I started yelling at the screen, someone must have went in his ear, or he must have sensed that a lot of fans had no idea what was going on, and so he kind of explained, you get a second chance here, and both teams get a chance to score. It goes into sudden death if you stop them on defense on the first possession. So, I'm going to give out a few things. I'm going to cut Shanahan some slack because, that's the story going around. It's like they didn't know the overtime rules. It's like it's football. You score, you stop them. That's it. You score and stop. I really did think he gave up a strategic advantage by getting the ball instead of giving the ball. So maybe if it cost him, I could be swayed on that. There was an incident early in the game where Travis Kelce, ran into the the old walrus, Andy Reid, the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs. He's an older man, and he kind of jostled him, and he lost his balance and stuff. And, there were several thoughts. It's like, oh, geez, look at this Pfizer bro raging. It's like roid rage out there. Then you're like, oh, if he treats his elderly coach like this, imagine how he treats his girlfriend. Oh. I understand all those points. Also, I was reading an article where Andy Reid was asked about it. He's like, I give it to him. I think he said something along the lines of like, I give physicality to him. Like bumping bodies into each other is not something that's like over the line, disrespectful, threatening. It's just kind of like part of like their dynamic. I mean, you pat players on the butt, you bang helmets with. I mean, Baker Mayfield headbutts people without a helmet on. He's a weirdo. Everybody has their own physicality. I saw Steve Nash was being critiqued. They were going through touches. And it's not how many touches in the game you get. It's how many physical high fives, body bumps, butt slaps, chest bumps, like how much of your energy is distributed onto that court. And he was like through the roof, like he was Captain, touchy-feely. So what I was reading about Andy Reid was that they were essentially just saying, he said, I just didn't have my feet underneath me. He goes, I have no problem with him or anything that he did. Like, it's fine. So, maybe that was just something that looked worse than it was. And the still frame with him screaming in his coach's face. Because I believe he wasn't out there on a play, and it was that play that led to a turnover. And so, he was just saying he wants to be in the game more and to keep him in the damn game or something like that. So those are some of my takeaways on the game. Wrong team won, but it was an okay Super Bowl. Kind of boring. And so was the halftime show, Usher. And just, I don't know. I didn't think Usher had the wide enough discography. He's got that, like, Start a New Relationship with You song. That's probably his best song, but I don't think he played that one. So anyway, those are a few of my thoughts on the game, and I'm going to start transitioning out of pure sports into the political realm. So if you're here from the Unhappy Hour Sports Show, we're going to move into current events and politics now. But, of course, this is another ongoing situation. There's this song that is played before some football games. And it was a topic of conversation because you do have to pick a side here. Let's go ahead and pull up a screen shot. And I want to get your thoughts. What do you think? Do we have enough national anthems? What's up, Rick? Rick is saying, where's Blake? Yeah, Blake is attending to some matters that he must attend to. How about that? Explicit definition. Yeah, Blake is indisposed right now. I did communicate with him recently. And he just said, I unfortunately do not think I'm going to be able to jump in for this one. So this will be 3 shows now, flying solo. Kenneth B saying hair issues. Give me a Blake with hair, long, beautiful hair. All right, let me catch up to some comments. I do say all the time that I really appreciate your comments. So let's jump in there. What if your name is Harpo Marx? Yeah, the Marx Brothers. Leeches. Yeah, Rick Norman made it live. About time. Welcome, Rick. Not Senate, but send it. Overseas, that is, says Kenneth. Let's see. Rick is saying the Super Bowl has become a sick circus. I just saw Super Bowl 58 is now the most watched live broadcast in history. Yeah. Rick is saying, yes, Brian, in that playoff game, the Browns were ripped off big time. Yeah, I mean, look, the Browns weren't as good as they are now either. In some ways, the offense was better with Baker, but in other ways, our special teams weren't up to snuff. We had Mike Prefer stinking up the joint, and we had Joe Woods stinking up the joint on defense because what's his, not Elvis Gerbach, what's the other, Chad Henne was the backup quarterback. Mahomes got hurt against the Browns in that playoff game, and we had a chance. I think all we had to do was stop Chad Henne from running 17 yards on a third down to get a first down or something, and our defense couldn't get the job done. But yeah, if the refs just call an honest game, we beat them. Could have beat them by 2 touchdowns. So yeah, the Browns were ripped off big. I agree. Rick is saying, right, that bad but lucky punt changed the game. Yeah, just, we had a word because when I played in high school and for Division I team in Ohio, and when we went to the state championship my junior year, I was the third defensive end, so I was the first fill-in if something happened to our starters, like the first backup, second team, and then I was a starter on kick return and kickoff. Yeah, kickoff and kick return. And so I got a chance to play. And where was I going with that point? Sorry. Yeah, there we go. Just offense and defense and special teams. When I was on kickoff and kick return, we had a word poison, 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 poison. You would yell it because if you end up getting caught and you're blocking somebody and the ball's coming, like, you got to kind of be aware you need to get out, like, danger. There's something going off here. A grenade is going to go off. Poison, poison, poison. I don't know how you let that go off your leg in the Super Bowl, man. That's rough. In the state championship, I did recover an onside kick. Unfortunately, it went off of Jesse's back. He was running down. He went 10 yards and it bounced into his back, and then I got the ball. It didn't count because it touched him before it went 10 yards. I did recover it, though. That was pretty cool. But yeah, that definitely changed the game. Rick says he loves Purdy and McCaffrey's 1965 haircuts. Jocelyn, hey, how are you? What's up, everybody? Rick Norman, Brian, it's refreshing to hear someone talk about football that knows football. Well, Rick, let me ask, are you following the Unhappy Hour sports show? Are you in our Facebook group? So you got to do quotation marks, TNAM, apostrophe, lowercase s. Oh, no, how do I do that? No, that's TNAM's The Agree to Disagree show on Facebook. That's the private group. That's how you do that one. The other one is The Unhappy Hour Sports Show. Go on Facebook and do a search for The Unhappy Hour Sports Show and say, how did you hear about this private group? And say, Brian sent you. And I'll bring you in there. And, get in on YouTube and on X. We're at The Unhappy Hour _. But yeah, I do sports shows, and then I do the Agree to Disagree show. So sometimes they blend, sometimes they blur on a vendor bender. Kenneth B is saying that Blake is gone because he lost money to Tails. Or having hair issues. That's so funny. Yeah, interesting. Rick Norman says Black History Month, Black National Anthem, and then massive halftime show with no Caucasian people. It really is weird. This white hate that's just spiked through the roof since Obama came on the scene. It's really a shame because in the 90s, it was like, after that Matthew Shepard, that awful, like, oh, there's a gay kid, and they whooped him and killed him out at a bar. Like, you can't even be gay and at a bar anymore. It's like, that's not right. That should not be right. Be who you are. Don't assault anybody. Don't lie about who you are. Don't go home with somebody and say, oh, look, I know I presented as one thing, but guess what? I tricked you. But like in the 90s, it was like, look, you shouldn't go abuse somebody because of what they're into. Like, live and let live. It really was that Clinton don't ask, don't tell. It's like, oh, that was so awful. It's like, was it though? It's like nobody cared. Rocky Horror Picture Show and all the artists from the 80s were in drag. They were all glam bands dressed like girls. Like, you're like, Boy George from the 80s to 90s. Like, so what? It's none of my, what do I care? But yeah, I mean, you go from that mentality to just like constantly erasing white people and just everybody gets a month and everybody gets a song. And I don't know if there were no Caucasian people at halftime, but there were very few, if any. Rick said he will start following. That's cool. Appreciate that. Yeah. I love sports, but it's like you got to kind of balance what's going on. The world's on fire. Like, how much am I going to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic? Like, we got to get to work, people. So let's get to work. Let's talk about some of the more interesting aspects of the Super Bowl, shall we? Once again, thank you for joining us on the Unhappy Hour on Tuesday, February 13, 2024. Like I said, my name is Brian Engelman. This is the new American media because the old American media has failed you. We'll see if we can get Blake back on Thursday. Brian, you didn't like the outcome, Chief? Why did I read that like Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting? Man, it's like sometimes I got to focus on the Rolodex and I really have to spin the card. I got a lot of knowledge sitting up inside my brain. I know that's a weird thing to say, but it's different with me. It's like a blessing and a burden because I was one of those smart kids. I tested off the roof, through the roof, out of the building, into all the the advanced classes. So I went to like a special school for smart kids. ADD, being on Ritalin, methamphetamines. And I've been on a game show and I did win with the bright lights on me and Carlton in front of me and from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. So like I do have a lot going on in my head. Not that everybody doesn't, but I think it's just a different formula. There's a different background show playing in there all the time. So yeah, anyway. Cobwebs. Yeah, I got cobwebs up there. All right. So do we have enough national anthems? Look, let's go ahead and let's listen to this guy tell you what he has to say about national anthems. Because look, if we're going to be at this point, I will say no. I don't think we have enough national anthems. I think every group needs their own national anthem because that's what it is, right? Every group should have their own unique anthem, which makes it national, right? What am I missing here? Let's see what this dude has to say. If it'll play, here we go.
If we don't have the Negro national anthem being played before the Super Bowl and other games, then we should have the Latino national anthem played before the games. And then we should have the Asian national anthem before we have a game. And then, yes, I want to say it. Oh no, we should have the white national anthem played before the game. Diversity. Or we can cut the crap and you can tell black folk, cut it. There's only one national anthem and it starts off, oh, say can we see. Talk to you later.
Hey, actually, I think it starts off with, oh, say can you see. But it's tricky. Like you finish up a thought and it's like one word comes out wrong. Like, I'm not going to re-record that. Yeah, and a lot of this crap started with Colin Kaepernick. Really unfortunate what's been done to mess up camaraderie in the United States. What is this? Throwback to 2023 when Carrie Lake refused to stand for the Black National Anthem. She confirmed she didn't stand again in 2024. We have one national anthem, and it is for everyone. Enough with the racial divisiveness. Yeah, there she is, not standing. I mean, what do you like? I don't like. What's the? Yeah, a couple people like. Megan Kelly says the so-called Black National Anthem does not belong at the Super Bowl. We already have a national anthem, and it includes everyone. There's a lot of that. A lot of the commentary here. But yeah, there were a couple people that were complaining that people weren't standing for it. It's like, stand for what? Why is this even a part of? Why are we doing this? I mean, geez, if you watch a baseball game, it can't be the Cleveland Indians anymore because they got erased, right? Hopefully they can be returned. But say the Cleveland baseball squadron is playing the Toronto Blue Jays. You know, I question why we're listening to that Canadian national anthem. What the heck are we listening to this crap for? You know, all due respect, maybe it's not crap. Maybe it's a wonderful song. It's not my song. I just what are we doing here? And of course, there's every reason to have the Canadian national anthem when one of the two teams is from Canada. But, you know, where's the Latino national anthem? Where's the white national anthem? Where's the Pacific Islander national anthem? The Georgian national anthem. Isn't that a country and a state? To have two different Georgia national anthems? It's just kind of absurd. So what is this? Lift every voice and sing? And that's the problem. It's like maybe it is a mighty fine song. You know, what's this guy got to say?
Number one, what the entire fuck is a Black national anthem, right? I'm Black American. My ancestors was in this country, right?
Oh, by the way, the first guy, if you were just listening to the Spotify channel, he's Black as well. I guess since they mention race, it's important to know that these are both Black people commenting on this.
This is a Black man in America, right? What the entire fuck is the Black national anthem, right? And this is not even coming from like, oh, I'm gonna be decisive, whatever. When I was in school, we sang the pledge. We did the Pledge of Allegiance, and we sang the national anthem. The national anthem now encompasses everybody in here. We do not need a Black national anthem. What is the Black national anthem for? What meeting are we going to where this national anthem is being said? Now, hypothetically speaking, right?
Oh.
I thought we was the United States of America, people. United States. Now we united, but a lot of y'all on the left side create no division.
Sorry, that clipped off.
Let's say next year a group of white fellas comes out and they say, we want a white national anthem. And the Mexicans say, yo, we Mexican, we want a Mexican national anthem. I thought we was the United States of America, people. United States. Now we united, but a lot of y'all on the left side create division, right? Division seems to be the topic of the day, right? It's a lot of division. You want to split stuff up. And I want to know what you're going to say. You're going to say, John, why you only focus on the left? You telling me the Black national anthem didn't come from the left?
Good point. Stupid. Yeah. Good point. So, you know, sports has turned into one of the places that the culture war is fought. And, you know, you can look at President Donald Trump and he brings a lot to the table, like boardroom CEO, power moves, power tie, boardrooms and negotiations and global politics and trade deals. You know, he brings a lot to the table. A lot of places that he could level up, a lot of places, people he surrounded himself with in his first term that were real swamp rat creatures. Big mistakes made with some of those hiring decisions. Hopefully round two will be different. But one of the things President Trump got right most often, there were 10 ways I could have phrased that. I don't think I picked the best one, but at least I got through the sentence. I think the culture war about just calling out the crazy, calling out the media as being fake news, ending the media. People used to think the news was there's Micah Parsons, a great defensive pass rusher on the Dallas Cowboys. He did an event for the Pro Bowl with Myles Garrett. Excuse me, it wasn't Myles Garrett. It was with Browns tight end David Njoku. And in the course of having their conversation, Micah Parsons regurgitated a phrase, Browns is the Browns. And that's something that a Pittsburgh Steelers said, that Browns is the Browns. Like, they suck. They've always sucked. They're always going to suck. And the Browns took that personally. You know, so this culture war is something that we have to take personally, because everything is being attacked right now. Browns is the Browns. Media is the media. Trump is Trump. And there's so many things that have been crammed into sports to just divide it. Tribalism. Divide and conquer. That's their thing. And it's not really the best thing. And so, look, if we're going to go down this route with multiple anthems, then I want to have at least 45. If we're going to just say that there's an infinite number of spectrums, an infinite number of gender ideologies, then you know what? Let's have at least 40 of them next year, or just have one. And the point is, there's just one. It's a national anthem. Stop being so divisive with this stuff. Enough. Kenneth B. calling President Trump the Don Rickles of presidents. Really is. I think that's the part that people don't acknowledge. And it's frustrating because I know that they know. But President Trump is a stand-up comedian. He always has been. And that's something that makes politics fun, honestly. It's also something that's costly. He'll make, jokes or say things, and there's a lot of explaining for Trump that gets really annoying. But look, after just seeing all the wrong people hating him, from Mitch McConnell to Mitt Romney to Nancy Pelosi to Liz Cheney, it's like, if all the wrong people, Obama, Biden, if they all can't stand Trump, it's like, you got to put him in at least for that. I know he's had some wins. Can't be perfect. I think the Chiefs played far from a perfect game. They somehow escaped with the Super Bowl. You don't have to be perfect. You just got to be better than the other guy, which is why I told my libertarian friend on the last episode, look, you can like the Cleveland Browns all you want, but they're not playing in the Super Bowl. It's the Chiefs and the Niners. Pick a team. Well, I am a libertarian. Yeah, well, they're not in the top two. Pick one of those two. Well, I choose not to. I don't want to participate in that system. I'm like, then you are not pushing away the most dangerous threat to our freedoms and liberties in this country, which is clearly the Democrat Party. That's not an endorsement of Republicans or MAGA or Trump. It's just they are so bad. So, anyway, speaking of so bad, a lot of people thought that the Jesus commercials missed their mark. Agree or disagree that the Jesus commercials missed their mark? They were a little on the surface, the Jesus commercials during the Super Bowl, it wasn't much of a big deal. In a way, it was good to see. Just, wow, how did Jesus get some attention here? I guess that's a good thing. And then other people are like, well, if they can spend that much money on a commercial, maybe they should have been helping people with that money. These are the anti-Christian people who just hate Christianity, everything about Jesus, everything about Christ. And they will never stop complaining because they just hate Christianity so much. They don't have a better idea, usually. They just know that they hate Christ and hate Christianity. These people are not particularly enthralling. as far as I'm concerned. I want to read this to you. A couple of thoughts on these commercials because they cross over culturally from sports to current events. This is from TJ Moe regarding the He Gets Us Super Bowl commercials of Christians washing feet. They aren't good commercials. They deserve criticism. The reason I dislike the commercials is because they only tell half the story of who Jesus is and what he did. Jesus is always the perfect balance of grace and truth. In my view, these commercials offer all grace and no truth. Sometimes we, as Christians, offer all truth and no grace. Now, okay, that's a good line here. That is a great line. Sometimes we, as Christians, offer all truth and no grace. And look, that's... You want to hate the Boston Red Sox. You want to hate the New York Yankees. You're sick of the fair weather fans. You just everybody rowdy, rude fans, Steeler fans. I get it. I get how like the most annoying fans can make you hate the franchise. You can hate or strongly dislike that group of people. And I guess sometimes we as Christians can offer all truth and no grace. That seems like what they may be trying to combat, but in the process, they are in error themselves. I'm continuing the article now. Just on the other side, we should be aiming for both grace and truth, just as Jesus did. In his book, The Grace and Truth Paradox, Randy Alcorn gave an excellent description of the issue. Truth without grace breeds a self-righteous legalism that poisons the church and pushes the world away from Christ. Grace without truth breeds moral indifference and keeps people from seeing their need for Christ. These commercials make it seem as though Jesus co-signed all of their sins. At the end of the commercial, it says, he gets us, all of us. That's an insinuation that Jesus is totally on board with their sin. It's nonsense. God hates sin. Jesus did engage with these people, like the woman who was caught in the act of adultery in John 8. He first showed grace and said, he that is without sin cast the first stone. And then he told her to go and sin no more. Why is that part never addressed? We have a duty as Christians, and it's laid out in Matthew 5, we're to be the salt of the earth. Jesus never ran around telling people to be more tolerant. Tolerance is not a fruit of the Spirit. We're commanded to love our neighbors. The most kind, loving thing you can do for your neighbor is tell them the truth about who Jesus really is, not pretend he is something else that will make it easier for you to follow him. Do not think I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law, and one's foes will be members of one's own household. Matthew 10, verse 34 through 36. So here you got a white lady washing a white lady's foot, a younger lady, outside a family planning clinic. That's never really about planning families. It's about destroying the ability to create a family at a time when the United States is seeing more growth in illegal alien encounters, admissions into the states, sneak-ins, than from actual birthed babies. It's a very disturbing trend. But yeah, right outside of a motel, and there's a couple people picketing saying, save the unborn. So this was one of the commercials that was going around. This one is from MJ Truth Ultra, not from Jocelyn, who's in the chat room. Jocelyn, what's up? It says, this was a Super Bowl commercial about Jesus. What do you notice? Here were the... Oh, I can't zoom in? I guess I can zoom in. Okay, what do you notice? This is like cold drinks. Okay. So they're drinking something cold, and both of these guys have one foot in a tub. I'm guessing there's ice. There's a dog. Okay. There's a lady washing a foot. There's a lady washing a foot. Okay, this picture is a little, wow. It is a very, I guess so you have like this pastor, priest guy with black sleeves rolled up to the elbows, and he's on his knees. And this person is flaunting their toes and kicked back in overalls and a little beanie. It's like you could almost hear this commercial. Yeah, wash my feet. And this lady washing this other lady's feet. This guy's toiling in the yard, and she's washing a neighbor's foot. These are all light-skinned people doing the washing. I don't know down here if that could be Arab or... I don't know. Let's see what this person is getting at here. What do you notice? They're saying that the people behind the He Gets Us ad campaign are social justice activists, and they don't believe Jesus is the Son of God. The whole article on that. It's on the New American Media. But this one is an interesting one, too. Let me click on this to expand it out. It's from Jamie Bambrick. The Christian Super Bowl ad they should have made. A group known as He Gets Us released an advertisement during the Super Bowl, which, whilst perhaps well-intentioned, failed to convey anything of the gospel to the hundreds of millions who saw it. Here's my take on what they should have done. I will mute the song. So this is Kat Von D. It says, former witch. This says, Dawkins, former right-hand man, known atheist. This is a former jihadist. They're showing all these pictures here. And a former Klan member here. And a former drug addict. Now he's with a child. This guy's a former gang leader. A former drag queen and prostitute. A former abortionist. Now he's holding a picture with a baby. Former transgender. Former porn star. Former New Age guru. Former lesbian activist. Jesus doesn't just get us. He saves us. Cleanses, restores, heals, forgives, loves. Okay. You know, it was just an interesting thought that the main point of Christianity, they just wanted to kind of show submission, subversion. There's a lot to the story. There's a lot to the Christian story. Choosing to go ahead and approach it from that perspective is interesting. But there's a lot more to it. I don't know. Let me ask you this as another question of the day to those of you who are active and participating. Do you regularly attend a sort of spiritual service? A church, a synagogue, a mosque, anything? Feeling like maybe I should check some out. It's been a while. But one of them I am not so interested in checking out would be Lakeland. This is the mega church that you're aware of. Joel Osteen. This is a story that happened over the past couple of days, and it's kind of quiet. And you do wonder, why hasn't this story received more attention? You know, when you go into a place of worship for the purpose of chaos, for the purpose of destruction, you know, I think the story is relevant regardless of what the person looks like and what the person represents. But especially at a time when we are letting in people from God knows where with God knows what intentions, it is very important to recognize when a threat is right in front of you. Let me share this page. It's from Aaron McIntyre. It's on Instagram, by the way. We're Instagram.com/thenewamericanmedia. But this person posted, when trans shooters strike, which is often, the most important thing for the media is honoring the wishes of the shooter. So there you go. Female shooter at Texas mega church has been ID'd, and Free Palestine was written on the rifle. So this is a guy from Venezuela, comes in, a quasi-significant arrest history, and then wanted to start identifying as a female, then came in with a 5-year-old who also got shot, I believe. This person was shot and killed, thankfully, before they could cause any more damage. And there you go. Free Palestine was written on the rifle. Okay. So that's something that's happening in the world right now. Is that story getting any attention? That there was another shooting? And this was another one that may have had to do with the radical, the indoctrination campaign from the left. You saw this in Nashville with a trans shooter. You just have to wonder, why is all of this happening out of nowhere? Because once again, it's like people have the right to be who they want to be. When you're an adult, when you're 18, and when you can pay for it on your own, don't make me pay for it. Go ahead and do whatever you want. But like, it doesn't mean that you get to swim in the Olympics on the women's team. It just means you are just kind of going through your day in the costume you choose. I don't know where all this rage is coming from, but it's like, if there's one thing that's become clear from the Democrat Party, it's all they have. They don't really seem to have much else going for them. Okay. Let me check this out here. Rick was saying they're not really Democrats and they're too closed-minded to know they're globalist. Oh, globalists. Referencing the band Dokken. Nice. Wherever in God. Rick believes in a higher divine power, but he doesn't do organized religion. I have respect for people that do. Okay. Yeah, not New Age, but New Rage. Kenneth wonder if this is an MK Ultra situation going on here. And you know what? Maybe it is. There is a disturbing trend going on. And we need to really figure out who's radicalizing these people to commit acts of violence. And we have to once again consider why anybody's letting unvetted anyone in this country from anywhere while they still want you to take your shoes off at the airport. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? How about no? Okay, I want to talk about this story. I may have touched on it. I'm going to have to scroll a little bit more to go back to it, but it's all right. I'll go ahead and find it. But this is interesting, and you all need to think about this because this happened at the church a couple days ago. But we all need to be ready for anything. And this was a sheriff speaking with, what was it, with a group of sheriffs? Sorry, I'm scrolling through all the stories. Make sure you're following the New American Media at American_media_. Because all these stories that we're covering are stories that we have shared on here. And we're going to get to the Hur Report. Oh, where is that video? Here it is. The Ohio sheriff Let's see. Ohio Sheriff Richard Jones sounds the alarm after coming back from a conference in D.C. If you could be a sitting duck at church, you could be a sitting duck anywhere. Listen to this Ohio Sheriff Richard Jones. Whoop, volume. There we go. Here we go. Oh, did I? Oh, that's what's happening. Try this again.
We were briefed by the FBI director, Ray, the director of the FBI,
Let me reset
and
this.
several Rick Jones. I'm the Butler County Sheriff. Butler County.
There we go.
We'll start off with, my name is Rick Jones. I'm the Butler County Sheriff, Butler County, Ohio. I just came back from a national sheriff's training in D.C. 2 days ago. We were briefed by the FBI director, Ray, the director of the FBI, and several federal agencies. There's 3,300 sheriffs in the United States. The President of the United States refuses to meet with the sheriffs of the 3,300. We have a hierarchy. We have a president. We have a vice president. President of the United States refuses to meet with the sheriffs. He also refuses to meet with the police chiefs of the United States. They have a hierarchy also. He refuses to meet with them to talk about border issues or talk about crime that's going on because of the border issue. We were also told by Mr. Ray, the FBI director, that there are more red flags going off now than before 9/11. Okay? When I say red flags, meaning people that are here in this country that are wanting to do harm to us. We were also explained we're bombing 2 countries right now. 2 countries. These people do not like us before this started. There's thousands of people here from other countries, 160 different countries. They're here not to be our friends. Some of them are coming because they're wanting to come here to the best country in the world, the way we see it. Some are coming here to harm to us. We were told by the FBI director, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. We were also told 5 sheriffs went.
Okay, that was cut off at a inopportune time, but it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And this shooter that was out there, what did they have? Free Palestine on the rifle, making a message, making a point, attacking Christians in their place of worship. Christians being targeted. So you got Jesus at the Super Bowl, you got an attack at the church. If you don't believe that there's a battle between good and evil going on, I don't know what else to tell you, folks. But that's just your daily warning, weekly warning that this would be a good time to make sure you go to the range, go get some supplies, gain some skills, get some practice, link up with your neighbors, buy some more supplies, get some more books for when the grid goes down, get some solar, get some water purification, be mobile and figure out where you'll go if you have to get out of here. You can't come back to wherever you are. There's a lot going on right now, people. A lot. So just get ready. If they're out there saying that, they know that something's up. And that person had a Palestine mark. Shocking. Pro-violence, pro-Palestine. What's new? Okay. I want to talk about this. There's a few stories now about Joe Biden. I may be a little out of order here, but it's okay. I'm essentially scrolling through the Twitter feed, the X feed. This is about Biden. So going into the Hur Report, it's showing that Biden had evidence. He had documents that he did not have any reason to have, nor the clearance to have, that he took out of a Senate SCIF. Secure. What's a SCIF? Sensitive Compartmentalized Information Facility, or SCIF. Sensitive Compartmentalized Information Facility. In United States military, national security, national defense, and intelligence parlance is an enclosed area within a building that is used to process sensitive compartmented information, types of classified information. So while you have President Donald Trump, who is president, commander-in-chief, he has access to everything, and he declassified everything. That's what he said on his way out the door. I'm declassifying all this stuff. So how did Biden get documents out of the Senate SCIF? This is Brian Cates, political columnist, saying, let's just say I have my suspicions. The smuggling of TS, SAP stuff has been going on forever, but it ramped up when Clinton's got in there. Hey, Joe, if you ever need to get something out of the SCIF, I know a guy. It shows a picture of Bill Clinton there. Okay. Why does Biden have these documents? So this is from Mike Davis. Let's just go ahead and play this. This is from Newsmax here.
Legal expert Mike Davis joins us tonight to talk more about this. Sir, it's good to have you on. Robert Hur discovered that Biden's ghostwriter destroyed evidence of Joe Biden sharing classified information with him. And somehow that guy gets the all clear. Hur, I assume, never really looked into or even bothered to investigate whether or not the request to do such a thing may have come from Biden's inner circle. I mean, we're talking about the potential of conspiracy and evidence tampering. This is what they're trying to put Walt Nauta and Donald Trump in prison for 20 years.
Yeah, remember with President Trump, under the Presidential Records Act, former presidents are allowed to have their presidential records in the office of former president, which is funded by Congress and heavily guarded by the Secret Service. And contrast that with Biden, who had 5 stashes of stolen classified records from his time.
Look at that. Is that what we're looking at? I don't know. Where is this from? What's the
As
picture
VP
from?
and even as senator, moved several times, unguarded for years, accessible by the
Biden
Chinese
stuff?
agent, almost certainly used by Hunter to secure Burisma funding. And now we learn that Biden shared this with his ghostwriters, shared classified information with his ghostwriter.
So Biden, oh my goodness. So Joe Biden is sharing classified information with his ghostwriter. And then Hunter Biden is using this information to sell the country out to the highest bidder. The Burisma deal. Burisma was the energy company. Where was that? Ukraine. Burisma Holdings Limited was a holding company based in Kyiv, Ukraine, for a group of energy. State Department officials viewed Mykola Zlochevsky as a corrupt, odious oligarch. Vice President Biden. Hunter Biden and his firm earned about $11 million via legal work as a board member for Ukraine Energy Company. Ukraine, Biden, Ukraine. So interesting because the Tucker Putin interview, there's a couple of takeaways from that. And the subsequent stories have talked about, well, why aren't we doing a ceasefire? Why aren't we ratcheting this stuff down? How did Zelensky get into office in the first place in 2013, 2014? What is with Biden and Ukraine and all the problems that they're creating? This isn't funny. They've taken an entire generation of men and put them through a meat grinder over there in Ukraine. This is all avoidable. None of this would have happened under Trump. This is an Obama-Biden thing, a continuation. Oh, but you want to sit this election out because your favorite team isn't playing. I'm not even going to watch the Super Bowl. I guess I don't even care about the sport anymore. I don't know. My team's not in it. I'm going to vote for my team over here because they're the best team. Well, if they're the best, why didn't they make it? Well. If you had just simply voted against the Democrats, they wouldn't have been in a position to do stuff like this. And the rhinos as well, the Republicans in name only. Let's continue.
And they obstructed justice by destroying the evidence in the face of Robert Hur's investigation.
Talk about that. I mean, just the part of Biden even having the documents to begin with, when you've never been the president of the United States, is a massive deal already.
And that's the part that makes us so absurd. Everything they've done to target Trump to try to get him 700 years in jail. Oh, it is so. I know I'm pausing here for an extended amount of time. The word lunatic is coming to mind. Bizarre. It's so weak. It's so desperate. It's literally it's unbelievable. The president has a right to have documents, take documents. Like there's no story there. There's no story defrauding a bank that wasn't defrauded. They got their loan paid back on time with interest in New York. There's nothing in Georgia. Fannie Willis taking all that money. It's all to kneecap this guy because he doesn't want to steal your money and shoot it overseas. And we'll get to that story in a minute because the budget bill that I was going to say McCarthy, but Mitch McConnell and Mitt Romney and these other scoundrels passed. They worked through the night. They put a poison pill in there that could perhaps impeach Trump. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's continue here.
Yeah, very much so. What's even more problematic for Joe Biden, which he'll never be able to explain, is how he had Senate documents, because that means he had to have stolen them out of the Senate SCIF in order to. I mean, I had a security clearance when I worked in the Senate. It's not easy to get documents out of the Senate SCIF.
No.
Joe Biden found a way.
Yeah, but nobody cares. But there's also that. Take a listen to Ian Sams from the White House today.
The report lays out example after example
Wow,
of how the president did not willfully take classified documents. The report lays out how the president did not share classified documents with anyone. The report lays out how the president did not knowingly share classified information with anyone.
How do you get up there and say that? I mean, how do you go up? I guess because the media is not going to ask you many tough questions because they don't want to believe this story. But that refutes everything that was in the files that were released last night. He just goes up and says it.
Yeah, well, he says that Biden didn't share classified documents with anyone. Well, he shared classified information. It was on those tapes with his biographer, and they deleted those tapes.
Documents. So that's his little trick. He said, you're right. He said documents. He didn't say information. He said he never handed anybody that at least they know of. He never handed anybody a classified piece of paper. Aren't they clever? Mike Davis, always good to have you on, sir. We appreciate it.
All right. So that's going on. It's just another example of the Biden regime falling apart at the seams. Okay. So yeah, I just want to talk about the Tucker Putin interview. Was it a nothing burger? I'm going to disagree. I think you're hearing a lot of things coming out. Just, why is nobody talking with them? Why is nobody trying to find out what the grievance is? The United States and Victoria Nuland and Barack Obama and Joe Biden overthrew Ukraine. They shared like it used to be Russian, like the Eastern Ukraine, like it's always been at the edge of Russia or a part of Russia. I mean, you got a 30-minute history lesson. And the post I made was about Grandpa Simpson talking about tying onions on your belt, as was the style at the time, because that kind of was how Putin came out, just kind of for 30 minutes, just rambling about history. It's like, and Tucker's like, that's I don't know how any of that's relevant. But NATO only exists to be, I don't know, antagonistic toward Russia. I get having some defenses and some safeguards, but you're talking about bioweapons labs. You're talking about overthrowing that whole country, banning journalism in Ukraine, banning opposing political parties, all of the treasure being looted from our American coffers and being money laundered through Ukraine at a time when you can't find a couple $1 billion, just build a damn wall, extend some of the processing plants and make everybody wait in Mexico until you get it figured out. That's the priority that needs to happen. And the fact that people are even messing around with this, it's a pull stick right in your eye socket. So I don't think it was a nothing burger. It's coming out that Putin has on multiple occasions tried to negotiate for peace. I was listening to these are the claims that are being made, and that Biden and his regime don't want anything to do with having a conversation with him. I was listening to audio of President Trump speaking to Zelensky about ratcheting things down, and Zelensky's he's not just someone that this happened to. He's been a useful idiot, a puppet this whole time of their administration. Former comedian playing the piano with his schwantz. Look, be funny. I got no problem with comedians doing other things. Like, just because you're a funny guy doesn't mean you can only, like Bill Burr. He acts in some serious roles now. Okay, well, maybe you don't want to be a funny guy every time. Jim Carrey has done normal roles too. Couple. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Truman Show, sort of. And I like those. But it just shows that they're terrified of listening to what Putin has to say, because we're being lied to. And if you're not sick of being lied to, look at what the Senate did. I'll go through that in a second here with their budget allocations, their appropriations. Good God. Let me play you this little stinger for the show. I completely redesigned it. This is called TNAM Distress. I mean, our flag is flying upside down at this point. Regrettably, we are a nation in distress, and that's what, when the flag goes upside down, that animation at the beginning, it's just kind of showing like the flag is being raised up, like we have now just, like, we're under attack, like everywhere, every way that you could imagine. There's just a sane way to do things, and then there's an insane way to do things. I don't think normal people changed all that much in the past 30 years. I think the Overton window of what's happening has been just thrown upside down the hall. None of this stuff feels normal at this point. None of it. So it's just weird that it takes someone like Tucker Carlson to get the ball rolling. If you want peace, you can have peace. These monsters don't. They just want to keep churning human bodies into the meat grinder in Ukraine. Call me a hippie, but I don't think that's a great idea. Oh, here's Mitt Romney. Make that one make sense. Being involved in a war in a place where we overthrew the leader 10 years ago to money launder with Burisma. This is the most important vote. No, it's not. It's just not. But to Mitt Romney, it is. To Mitt Romney and his ilk. $96 billion, B with a B, foreign aid package. Most important vote we'll ever take. All right, let me scroll through some of these stories and give you some of the, because the rest of these stories kind of blur together a little bit. But like I said, if you want to kind of get the show prep, this isn't always the way that we do it, but often we will do it this way. And especially now, 3 shows in a row where I'm doing all the show prep. It's fun. It's fun. This is Karine Jean-Pierre. I'm going to play you this one because in the Hur Report, the Hur Report was where they said, here, let me give you. Robert Hur. I don't want to read the Washington Compost. I'm just trying to give you a quick overview. Politico. Who's decent? Man, I need a better browser. What do you use? I'm on Google. Ugh. Man, they use the same sources. Terrible sources here. The Hur Report. Who do I like? I don't like anybody. Okay. All right. I'm going to go. The explosive Hur Report. Yeah, it does seem weird. I'm like, well, what's not like media? Anyway, I found something here on the Blaze real quick. I'm like, I don't go to Fox anymore. I don't go anywhere. I don't really have like good sources. I don't know. I don't know how to describe how I find the stories that I have anymore. Anyway, out of Blaze, it says, in a shocking twist, the mainstream media seems to be turning on Joe Biden following Robert Hur's bombshell report on Biden's handling of confidential documents. While Vice President Harris and Biden's allies have been in full damage control, the report described Biden as a sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory who was not fit to stand trial, and it's almost impossible to spin. This president has been deemed unfit to stand trial, but he's fine as president, Keith Malinak comments. Disturbed. Serving as president, that's not as important as standing trial, Pat Gray jokes. Even media personnel at ABC are having a hard time ignoring the report, and the president's reaction saying he was seething and his anger was palpable. You know, like when Ashley, you're trying to take a shower in peace and you come storming in with your glowing red eyes. Exactly as you planned it. Creep. CNN, NBC, and CBS were all shocked at Biden's angry reaction toward reporters during the press conference that followed the release of Robert Hur's report. Quote, this is not a new problem for the White House and for the Biden... this is somebody else. And for the Biden campaign. There have been long-standing mounting questions about his age and mental sharpness, so this only adds to those concerns, and that is why you're seeing so much damage control. Wee Jia Jiang reported on CBS. This could do real political damage, she added. By the way, let's be clear. I'm going to circle back. Let's be clear. Oh, let me be clear. But this is not about age. Do not let anyone. Here's a task for you. Should you choose to should you choose to participate in my challenge between now and the election? If somebody says, Joe Biden, blah, 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 because of his age, we can't have old people running for president. Okay. Well, look, Trump is old, and Trump is the only person that's. This is Trump's time for round two. Bring it. It's not about age. There is a vast difference in energy, comprehension. Energy and stamina, I guess, are different. President Trump has these things. Biden does not. It's about performance. It's about mental sharpness, but don't just, it's about age. No. No, judge a person by the content of their actions, not the age. But if the content is just disheveled, discombobulated, disconnected, well, roll with it. Understand it. And so here's the question posed to Karine Jean-Pierre. Now, why? Why is it not why is it not something he's allowed to talk about? When it's as obvious as a pink elephant in your living room. You don't have to be a wildlife expert to be able to say, oh, there's a pink elephant in the living room. Yeah, well, what are you, Steve Irwin? Get out of here. When it's obvious. Okay, so I'm imagining this could have gone something like this. Let's say that the Hur Report gets a chance to ask questions, and Biden has been advised to just play up the, I don't know, man. I don't recall. I don't recollect. I mean, look, man. Hey, I'm being serious. You want some ice cream? I think he's got this playing dumb thing down. One, it's easy because he is dumb. Two, he is losing his cognition. I talk about having the ability to form sentences and words and phrases getting out of my mouth faster than I can articulate the syllables of them. I say that intentionally. I know it's called syllables. But with Biden, I mean, he's all over the map. He's not. Put the flashlight up, click, click. Put the flashlight up, it shines out through the other side, like in the cartoons. But if it's obvious that this guy was coached to act like he doesn't know anything and he's completely enfeebled, then he has every damn right to say that this is how it came across. And he's got no competency left. Maybe that's like, well, look, pick your poison. Do you want a good legal defense? And the good legal defense would be to just play up like, I don't know. I don't remember. Come on, man. You know the thing. It's a good legal defense, but it's going to sink your political career. You're done. Or you don't have the defense, and then you have to actually answer for being a senator and having all these classified documents that you literally had to sneak out, and you never had clearance. You never had the authorized clearance to participate in. It looks like we know what he chose. And it kind of seems like he's been getting nudged out for a while now, and he's not going. He's being stubborn. And I think they're going to wag the dog him, unfortunately. And I'm not asking anyone to, and I hope that it doesn't happen. But I think that the deep state, the demons, the bad people, I think that they would martyr this guy. One, to just get him out of the way. He's not listening to their commands anymore. And plus, if you could pin the donkey tail on Trump. No, look, it was MAGA that did it. Now we got our civil war. So anyway, back to Karine Jean-Pierre. It's just, if it's obvious that the person doesn't have the mental acuity to participate in, this situation, these hearings and this special counsel situation, well, he has every right to say this guy wasn't with it. Every right. Uh, 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 uh. So yeah, they're asking to talk to the doctor. Alan Dershowitz. He's saying the report itself is a disaster. Hur was also wrong, going as far as he went trying to do a medical diagnosis. Someone who he hasn't even examined. He was wrong in everything he possibly could have done. Okay, there's another counterpoint. But this person, I've been watching Biden for 50 years. He's never had a stutter. That was the narrative they put out during the campaign to cover his already noticeable mental decline. People fell for it. Thought he was a kind, grandfatherly type. Biden has always been a mean bastard. The Biden administration leaks. The usually grandfatherly president amused aides by proclaiming, "I'm dark effing Brandon man," during a call with governors. Trump administration leaks. JCOS narrowly averted Trump from revealing the existence of Santa to the public. This person here, Acme Rocket Sleds memes. Really, I thought Biden's grandfatherly instinct was to ignore his grandchildren. That's the hunter stripper and the daughter that they won't acknowledge exists. They pretend that they're not even there. So this person says, so what if Biden has a failing memory and can't remember the date his own son's passing? He's an old, well-meaning, grandfatherly figure. He's very relatable because we all have old relatives with Alzheimer's. It's less scary than having a president who tweets scary, offensive things. It's a nice parody account there. Sofa King MAGA here says grandmas have been sent to prison for walking around invited in on January 6th. Biden stealing classified documents and using them for monetary gain, too grandfatherly to prosecute. Too grandfatherly to prosecute. Sorry, I realized I wasn't sharing the screen with you. The screen is part of the best part here. Yeah, Trump has the right to possess the classified information. Biden does not. So it's time to drop this. Here's an interesting meme connecting some dots here. It's a back and forth. Tucker looking confused. This is probably when they were talking about the Russian history. And Tucker says, if it wasn't for Hamas on October 7th, the Palestinians wouldn't be dying, right? And then Putin says, let's go back a couple of years. Really, this is not just something that's been going on since the 30s, 40s. This fighting in the Middle East has been going on for a long time. Let's hear Tucker in his own words.
Senile. That's not. I think that the current administration is very obviously incompetent, and the president is senile. That's not an attack. Everyone knows it. It has now been confirmed, I would say, this week in the report that you're all familiar with. But and that's very sad. But it had sort of nothing to do with the interview. I wanted to interview Putin because he's the leader of a country that the U.S. government is sort of at war with, though not in a declared way. I think that.
Yeah, just have more conversations. I'm so in favor of that. In other news, just a rapid fire, I got to get out of here. Senator Mike Lee and Senator Ted Cruz have called for Mitch McConnell to resign as Senate leader. Oh, I so support that. Make sure you're following us on X at American_media_ and check out all these stories. Benny Johnson put out Senator Rand Paul surgically dismantles D.C. Uniparty over the border crisis. Quote, I would say it's criminal neglect for Mitch McConnell, Chuck Schumer, and Joe Biden to get together to send $100 billion overseas to fix someone else's border before addressing our border. I mean, come on. Does it get any more obvious than that? We have so many issues. I guess I haven't been keeping up with the captions, have I? So that's Biden's Hur Report, marking the end of his residency. Yes, I think he's done. He chose the way to get out of that problem with the documents, but now it's cost him his political career. We'll see who steps in next. That's my short answer there. Beware the Senate spending bill of McConnell and Romney. Yes, of course. You need to know about this. Republicans need to be aware that this bill, supported by McConnell and almost all of the Senate GOP leadership, sets in motion the next hyper-partisan Trump impeachment before he's even elected. J.D. Vance sent this out. It's a memo. It says, buried in the bill's text is an impeachment time bomb for the next Trump presidency if he tries to stop funding the war in Ukraine. This is absurd. Go and read this stuff. If he doesn't spend money in 2024, 2025, they can impeach him. Molly Hemingway says he did nothing to secure the U.S. border about Biden, but he will do anything it takes to obey Chuck Schumer and Mitch McConnell and send $60 billion of your money to corrupt Ukraine. These people loathe you and will destroy your country. I want you to know about this. Tony Bobolinsky, and check out these source documents X at American_media_. From Tony Bobolinsky's opening statement to House Oversight and Judiciary, quote, from my direct personal experience, it's clear to me that Joe Biden was the brand being sold by the Biden family. His family's foreign influence peddling operation from China to Ukraine and elsewhere sold out to foreign actors who were seeking to gain influence and access to Joe Biden and the U.S. government. Joe Biden was more than a participant in and beneficiary of his family's business. He was an enabler, despite being buffered by a complex scheme to maintain plausible deniability. The only reason any of these international business transactions took place, with tens of millions of dollars flowing directly to the Biden family, was because Joe Biden was in high office. The Biden family business was Joe Biden, period. So this is what you need to know about. This is probably the biggest story going on because they are now taking Biden out. Selling access and selling this country down the river. Also find this one. This is RFK Jr. saying that peace is not their goal. And he's saying that Russians have repeatedly tried to settle on beneficial terms to Ukraine. The major thing they wanted was for the United States to keep NATO out of Ukraine. And the big military contractors did not want that. They want to add new countries to NATO all the time. So then you can sell to them. It's all connected, people, and it's so weird. Simon Ateba also put out a report by Reuters, says President Biden rejected Russian President Putin's proposal for a ceasefire in Ukraine in late 2023 and early 24. Even as Biden pushed for another $60 billion in assistance to Ukraine to attempt to defeat Russia. The publication reports that despite these signals from Putin in 23, both sides failed to initiate meaningful discussions as the U.S. insisted on involving Ukraine in any ceasefire talks, ultimately leading to the breakdown of the contacts. Saying the bulk of the money does not leave the United States, it goes to the military-industrial complex. The explanation is if you don't enrich the complex, Putin would invade NATO and your sons and daughters would fight in Europe. So it's just better to fight the war now so that your sons and daughters are safe here in the U.S. It's absurd, people. We need to wrap today's show up. We need a come to Jesus moment in the most apolitical way possible. We need to look in the mirror. We need to realize that this is madness, and we're active participants in it. We need to reset we need to recalibrate this entire computer, unplug everything, take all the cords, unwind them, and then replug in the important parts and get rid of this other stuff. This is just madness, and it's all connected. So follow Bobolinsky's whistleblowing on the Biden crime syndicate, and be aware that this future Trump impeachment has been baked into this spending bill. The spending bill should be dead on arrival. It's not going to have a chance in the House, but we got to talk about it anyway. All right. I'm going to wrap it up for today's program. I appreciate you watching the Agree to Disagree show on the New American Media. Maybe we'll get Blake back on Thursday. To everyone out there in the TNAM universe, I appreciate you. I love you, and we'll talk to you again soon.